Hey everyone, I'm CinematicCritic, fresh off from seeing the movie Alice Through the Looking Glass. Man, I really wanted to like this movie. And to be honest, this is one of the best Act 1s I've seen in a while. And I thought, the way it started out, I thought it was going to be a good movie. It all fell apart when it came to Acts 2 and 3. You know, I won't go into the actors. I'll just say that I thought the acting was decent. I've seen better. I think that Johnny Depp kind of stole the show. The problem was he wasn't in it all that much. Alice's actor, honestly, I liked the actress that played Alice. Just, she feels too fake all the time, like this, like she's speaking in a fake voice. Like you could tell she's acting. She doesn't. Her character is powerful, and the acting just doesn't match. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's getting such a low rating. Because you've got this character. She's not like Katniss Everdeen. She's, to make a comparison, she's more like Bella Swan, like that actress, you know. Makes it kind of hard to watch. She's always got that proper English girl to her. But you're in this wonderland with all of these magical creatures, and you're acting like a proper English girl. That might have worked in the first one, but not really in this one. So character-wise, I think Alice is kind of weak. Okay? Hatter, like I said, he's good, and this whole movie does kind of focus on him. And I'll get to that when I get into the plot. 3D... Nope. There aren't really any 3D moments. There aren't really any moments that were meant for 3D. There weren't really... The 3D wasn't actually that good. Same theater, the Swansea Cinema, and I was actually in one of the big theaters where the projectors are usually better because it's on a bigger screen, so you'd think the 3D would be good, but no. That's not totally the theater's fault. It is about how you 3D render it, so... Do I recommend 3D for this? Not really. There was nothing that jumped out at me. So, can't get a 3D showtime? Go see the 2D. Let's see, so we've talked about characters. I would say that the side characters are definitely explored more in this. Oh, when we get to the ending though... No one dies, I'll tell you that. In fact, it's quite the opposite. That gives me such the issue with this movie. Like I said, I loved Act 1. I loved the setup. It made the movie look like it was going to be something amazing. And Act 2 just kind of... Oh... And the Act 3, the final moments... Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with this. We start with Alice at sea. Apparently she's like an adventurer now, and she has to outrun pirates. Yeah, there are pirates in this. Well, we don't actually see any of the pirates, but she has to outrun them, and it's exciting, and that's what's getting me all hyped up for the movie. I was like, yes, is this going to be the Alice in Wonderland? This is everything that the first one could have been, and more. Then we come back, and it turns out to be this same setup. Oh, now this guy wants to come and take away her ship, and in return her mother will get to keep their house or something like that, and her mother is sort of going along with it, and Alice goes through a looking glass, thus the title, back into Wonderland. All this time during the first 10 minutes of the film, which takes place in the real world, I'll get to that in the spoiler section. Now I'll say right now, towards the end, Hatter's like, how do you know which world the real world is? Yeah. Okay. What ends up happening is you keep seeing Absalom a couple of times, and he is what ultimately leads her back into Underland. I don't know, I always want to say Wonderland, but it's technically called Underland. Anyway, we come to Underland, and we get the setup where everyone is having a tea party, but Hatter is not there. So Alice goes and talks to Hatter, and where did it say this in the trailers, by the way? So to give you the setup that the trailers are not, Hatter believes that his family is still alive, and Alice tries to convince him that he's not. So the White Princess, the White Queen, actually says, maybe you can go back in time. Okay, so it's going to be a time travel movie. I was interested. I was still on board, especially when we got to the time castle, and I was still in. I liked this time. They were painting him as a villain, but I kind of suspected that he was going to not really be a villain, especially when the Red Queen, the Queen of Hearts, showed up. Yeah, we got the villain. I was hoping she would be the villain in this, and she is. Again, when we get into the Act 3, though, a little bit of an issue there. An issue with the White Queen, too. But we'll get that into Act 2. So basically, Alice takes this chronosphere, they call it. And anyone who knows what chronos means, it means time. And starts going back, traveling through time. Goes to these different spots in time where the Hatter is like we never do see the Jabberwocky, but except in the time travel that space. But we see like a Mad Hatter child version. We see a teenage version. We see the day where the Red Queen sort of went mad. We see the day where she bonked her head, apparently, and that's what made her head swell up. And whenever she's mad, her head gets bigger. So that was a little bit of an interesting setup. But unfortunately, as this Act 2, it's where the movie lost me. I'll say one more thing, and it's sort of a spoiler, sort of not. So the hat is semi-on right now, okay? It's kind of on, it's kind of not. We find out that one of the reasons that the Red Queen, the Queen of Hearts, is so bad, so evil, is because the White Queen told a lie that got her in trouble as a child, and she got mad, and that's ultimately what led to her running outside, hitting this clock, and... Sorry, there's actually a black cat out here. Anything can happen at midnight. Anyway, it's live after all. But I'm going good so far. This has actually been one of my best reviews in a while. So, keeping it going, that's pretty much it. She hits her head on something and she starts to swell up. So, then the guy who's like in charge of the chronosphere finds her in time. He's been chasing her and she's like, you have no idea what you have done. So what has she done? Something's wrong with my hat. Oh. It's going to be spoiler alert now. There you go. Okay. Yeah, whatever. I'll just put it down all the way. So, spoiler alert. It's now spoiler alert time as we move on to the second half of Act 2 and when I started having trouble with this movie. Remember how I said I loved Act 1 and early Act 2? You could tell my face changed because everything kind of went downhill from there. The Hatter. I mean, this was over halfway into the movie, and given the fact that it's... Oh yeah, I can't look at the time. Given the fact that it's... well, I started the review at 12:10. I saw that the movie's probably started at 10:30. It's less than a 2-hour movie, so the first hour is good, and then the rest of it, they'll wrap up that 30-40 minutes. What happened? Alright, so let's talk about it. Gather my thoughts. Okay. So Alice goes back in time, and time is starting to fall apart now because she took the chronosphere, which keeps time going. And when she gets back to chronosphere, the Red Queen of the present has her captured and takes the chronosphere herself. And really, I'm just going to make this quick. She goes back in time to basically the point where the White Queen lied, and she finds herself, and she's like, liar! The future self comes in and sees the mother and the little child, Red Queen, and the little child, White Queen, and says, liar! Because the explanation is the queen at the time said no more tarts, and and the White Queen, or who will be the White Queen, took a tart and framed the Red Queen for it. So where does this come in as an issue? Well, I'll get to that in 1 minute. So basically, time starts to stop, and you get this stereotypical, race to beat the clock. And I just kind of had been disengaged. I lost all excitement. The excitement was gone. The music was there, flourishing. The Hatter was back magically. Yeah, it was predictable. It was predictable. And after seeing a couple movies that were not predictable, I wanted that trend to continue. So when I got another predictable movie I knew that the Hatter was going to come back. All right, yes. I knew that the Red Queen was going to be the villain a few minutes in. Yes. I knew that the way that they set it up with the first 20 minutes, I knew that this guy who was in charge of time, they just call him Time basically, isn't really bad. So before I lose my train of thought too much, let's go to the part I don't like. So time stops and everything freezes, and Alice didn't make it. But surprise, surprise, it's a Disney movie. And oh, she's a couple of inches away from putting the chronosphere back in its proper place. But, yes, of course. Even though it's inches away, there's still a magical connection. There's still a surge of electricity that connects the chronosphere to the machine, and everything's okay. And Alice moves those last couple of inches, and it's in, and happy ever after. Stereotypical. Would have been nice to see it done some other way. Like, it had to happen. I would have had it happen. But it's just the convenient way they did it is wrong. Like, maybe someone else, maybe Alice needed a push from something or someone. Like, maybe Time needed to give her one final push. He was already pushing her to get it back. Maybe he could give her a final push. He could be the hero. Think about that. So anyway, the whole focus, like I said, was Hatter's family. So Hatter's family is found. The Red Queen apparently did not kill them with her Jabberwocky as was originally thought, as Alice tries to say at the beginning. Turns out she actually enslaved them and it put them in a little ant farm. She didn't turn them into ants. They were she made them mini, and anyone who's an Wonderland fan knows that, they've got candles they've got eat me candies that can make you small or big. And, well, apparently they were forced ones to make those small, and Hatter's all like, I will rescue you. And early in the film, the father-son relationship between the Hatter and his sane father was actually very interesting. And everything is kind of forgotten after that. And they're kind of, when they're brought back, they're not as sane as they were earlier in the movie. I would have liked the contrast. Still, it is a nice touching moment to see the Hatter reunited with his family. He saves them from the Red Queen, and the White Queen ends up giving them the necessary candy the Eat Me candy to grow back to normal size, and everything happy ever after. So now we talk about the Red Queen and the White Queen. So that lie that I've already talked about, the White Queen basically says, and why couldn't she have said this sooner? I'm sorry. I'm sorry for telling that lie all those years ago. She says, oh, really? Like, that's gonna do it. It did something! Oh my god! The Red Queen actually says... The Red Queen actually hugs the White Queen and is like, happy ever after for the Red Queen too. I was waiting for it to be a betrayal, like in spoiler alert for Star Wars 7 if you haven't seen it yet, who hasn't, the betrayal of the son killing Han Solo. I was waiting for something like that to happen. I was just waiting for the Red Queen to stick a knife in the White Queen. Doesn't happen. They're happily ever after. No. Look. Sometimes, look. If you've ever watched any of my anime videos, you know I'm a sucker for a good guy gone bad. But they have to earn it. Or they have to show that they were never truly a bad guy. Like case for, if you ever go watch any of my Naruto reviews, I'll explain the whole deal between Kurama and everyone thinks he's a demon, but then there's a background reveal that it reveals he's actually tragic. And there is several episodes over which he has to prove that he's not bad. That doesn't happen here. It's literally 1 minute, less than a minute, she goes from bad to good. Just straight out bad to good. There's no explanation of it. Well, there is kind of a backstory, but she's always been bad, even in those backstories. She's a brat. The backstories failed to give sympathy for her. A little sympathy maybe, but not enough. If the backstories had been done better, if they had generated sympathy from me, as like the Kurama one did in Naruto, or I'm trying to think of a couple of examples, but I don't want to drag this on too long. I want to stick to 20 minutes. So, point is, there is no backstory. Well, in the backstory that there is, there's not enough of it, and it doesn't make me sympathize with the Red Queen. So when they come out and say, hey, she's not really bad, I say, okay, that's weird. I get this is underlining that things are weird, but so she's not bad? It's kind of like I would compare it to, honestly, the Lego movie. But even that had some sort of final speech in the end. It wasn't just a, I'm sorry. No, there was a final speech given by the main character. You know, if maybe Alice had said something, if the Hatter had said something, even if the White Queen had said something to her for a few minutes, like, if it hadn't just been, I'm sorry, if it had been something more. But it wasn't. So it ends with Alice going back to the real world, of course, and her mother, and she's like, I've learned you can't change time, but you can learn from it. And she tells her mother to go ahead and sign the paper, and I was like, don't let it end that way. So at least the mother did learn her lesson and kind of empower herself too, and not sign away the boat that us had. Not sign away the boat, so at least that happened, because that honestly would have brought this down to 4 rather than a 5. But when all comes down to it, this movie starts you off on a high note and ends you on a low note. Well, guys, how do I say this? I didn't love Alice in Wonderland 1. It was okay. I would say visually this one was definitely more stunning. Not in 3D, but color-wise it was bright. It had had a great contrast. So visual-wise, they did a heck of a lot better than the first one. But when it all comes down to it, the amazing visuals just can't save the characters in the story. So, I'm afraid I can't. If you're an Alice in Wonderland fan, one watch, but that's all it gets. Sorry.